Imagine the NFL season unfolding like a mystery novel, where predictions we made months ago are now playing out right before our eyes, sometimes with shocking accuracy, sometimes sparking heated debates. As passionate football fans, we're diving into this week's trends, uncovering truths that were clear from the start. But here's where it gets interesting. Not all of these revelations are universally agreed upon. Stick around, because we're about to explore what's really shaking up the league. And trust me, you might find yourself questioning your own takes by the end. As someone who's utterly obsessed with football, I have to admit, the shift to an 18-game schedule has brought a ton of extra excitement with more high-stakes action on the field. That said, I do miss the straightforward rhythm of the old 16-game format, which made it crystal clear where we stood in the season's timeline. Back then, after just 4 games, we'd already ticked off a full quarter of the campaign across the entire league, and the gap between Week 8 and Week 9 felt like hitting the midpoint with precision. Now, things sneak up on us a bit more subtly. You might not have noticed, but believe it or not, we've already sailed past the first quarter of this season. For squads with an early bye week, they're just kicking off the second quarter, while those with a late bye are teetering on the edge of the halfway mark. But here's the part most people miss. With sufficient games under our belts league-wide, we can finally ditch the caveats about tiny sample sizes when sharing opinions. That doesn't mean every situation is crystal clear. Take the Indianapolis Colts, for instance, whose early struggles might still need more time to fully reveal themselves. Yet, we're now at a point where solid conclusions are forming, based on what we've seen unfold. A couple of weeks back, we owned up to our off-base early season predictions, holding ourselves accountable in a spirit of fun and fairness. Today, we're flipping the script to celebrate the flip side. Those bold calls we made with confidence before kickoff, which have largely come true, often in ways that are even more dramatic than anticipated. And this is the part most people miss, how some of these truths are fueling controversy, like whether certain teams' misfortunes are due to poor decisions or just bad luck. Let's jump into this week's What's Trending in the NFL, starting with our Bonus 5. Truths we already knew before the season even kicked off. Bonus 5. Truths we already knew before the season began. Russell Wilson won't last long as the New York Giants starter. The countdown for Wilson began ticking the moment the Giants traded up in the first round of the NFL draft, snagging Jackson Dart at pick number 25. The urgency grew louder when Wilson couldn't secure a solid endorsement as the primary QB after the team's 21-6 defeat to the Washington Commanders in Week 1. In today's NFL, first-round QBs rarely get the luxury of biding their time on the sidelines, learning the ropes for a season or two. The Giants entered this year with a head coach already under intense scrutiny. Switching to Dart was always going to be Brian Daboll's last-ditch effort to save his job, and you can see just how heavily he's leaning on that lifeline, even bending rules to make it happen. For beginners in football analysis, this highlights how rookie quarterbacks are often thrust into action quickly due to roster pressures, a trend that's intensified in recent years. The Dallas Cowboys' defense will be bad. Wilson's rocky start perfectly illustrates the Cowboys' defensive woes this season. His offense couldn't muster a single touchdown in Week 1, managed only 1 in Week 3, leading to his benching. And sandwiched between those was a matchup against Dallas, where Wilson nearly matched his career-high passing yards and piled up 37 points against them. The Cowboys faced significant losses, like Micah Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence departing, plus injuries to key players such as Trevon Diggs, Deron Bland, and DeMarvion Overshown, all while cycling through their third defensive coordinator in 3 seasons. It was bound to be a tough go on defense, but most experts underestimated just how abysmal it would turn out to be. Think blown coverages and missed tackles that have fans scratching their heads. And this is where it gets controversial. Is this a short-term dip due to injuries, or a sign of deeper roster flaws that could haunt Dallas for years? The New York Jets will be bad. Recall that brief spark of hope when Aaron Rodgers joined the team or returned from injury? This offseason? Crickets. the Jets stand as the NFL's sole remaining winless squad and hold the longest playoff drought in all major North American sports. Their struggles have reached a point of genuine sadness, capped by a game where even you, the reader, probably racked up more passing yards than the entire team did in a full contest. Broadcasting that debacle to the UK over the weekend might not help international diplomacy much. In simple terms for newcomers, this underscores how a lack of talent depth can doom a team, turning potential excitement into consistent disappointment. It's Joe Burrow or nothing for the Cincinnati Bengals. We saw this coming, especially after watching Bengals games in 2024. The team becomes the league's punchline without number 9. To show how desperate things have gotten in Cincinnati, they resorted to raiding the Cleveland Browns for QB help, a move that screams rock bottom in football terms. For those new to the sport, this is like a basketball team trading for a point guard from a rival. It highlights the desperation of relying on one star player, and the Browns' QB carousel adds a layer of irony here. Circus in Cleveland. If you've lost track amid the chaos, the Browns traded for Kenny Pickett, signed Joe Flacco, drafted Dylan Gabriel, added Shedeur Sanders, traded Pickett away, named Flacco starter, benched him, and then dealt Flacco to a divisional foe. Now they're stuck with a third-round pick who many saw as a reach, and a fifth-round guy who's one of the most divisive backups in the league, all under what might be the worst QB contract ever in NFL history. Who could have predicted this wild ride? Expanding on this for clarity, it's a prime example of how overhauling a position can backfire spectacularly, leading to a rebuilding phase that feels more like a comedy of errors. Not ranked, Brian Callahan is the first coach fired. Heading into the season, betting markets favored Tennessee Titans coach Brian Callahan as a top 10 bet to be the first axed, though he wasn't high on many preseason lists. He was just starting his second year and first with his top draft pick QB. But Callahan tripped up early in week 1, showing unfamiliarity with basic NFL rules. QB Cam Ward barely improved. Callahan handed off play calling, and his sharp media clashes became routine. This propelled him ahead of coaches like Daboll and Mike McDaniel to become the season's first casualty. For beginners, this illustrates how public gaffes and performance can accelerate coaching changes in the high-stakes NFL world. Callahan's tenure ended after just 23 games. Road to Santa Clara, the 5 teams with the best chance at winning the Super Bowl. New England Patriots. Just as we were adjusting to the Patriots' struggles post-Tom Brady, along comes Drake May to shake things up. Though it's premature for full hype, the rookie QB seems to be hitting his stride, leading the team to 3 straight wins, including a narrow 23-20 victory over the Buffalo Bills, putting them atop the AFC East. Looking forward, only 3 of their remaining 11 opponents are currently above 500. To break it down for newcomers, May's emergence shows how a young QB can transform a franchise quickly, much like other rookies who've surprised the league. Kansas City Chiefs. Their 0-2 start raised eyebrows, but context matters. Both were close losses to teams now at 4-2, followed by a 3-point road defeat where Patrick Mahomes' interception led to a 99-yard TD return. The Chiefs dealt with key injuries, like Xavier Worthy's absence early on, but a recent 30-17 win over the Detroit Lions has Mahomes looking dominant again, with Rashee Rice set to return. Turns out, talk of the dynasty's end was overstated, but here's where it gets controversial. With Mahomes' dual-threat style aging, is this a sustainable edge, or are teams finally catching up? Tampa Bay Buccaneers. A major reason they're on this list is that their current injuries aren't permanent, as the roster has playoff potential. Stars like Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Emeka Egbuka, and Bucky Irving are expected back soon, and Baker Mayfield is currently leading MVP candidate. Buffalo Bills. I've been a big Bills booster this season, but in this safe space I have to wonder, where's their signature quality win so far? Their defense surrendered 40 points in Week 1, saved by an epic offensive rally against a Baltimore Ravens team that's underperforming. Wins followed against the Jets, Miami Dolphins, and New Orleans Saints, but losses to the Patriots and Atlanta Falcons followed. Offensively, Coach Joe Brady seems to sideline James Cook unusually. I'm not in panic mode yet, but I'll be glued to their upcoming games against the Chiefs and Buccaneers. And this is the part most people miss. Is Cook's benching a bold strategy or a mistake that could cost them dearly? Detroit Lions, the final scores in their 2 losses this year, tell a misleading tale. A 27-13 Week 1 defeat to the Green Bay Packers felt wider than the margin, and Sunday's 30-17 loss to the Chiefs wasn't as one-sided as it appeared, marred by the Chiefs' home field edge, Mahomes' peak form, defensive injuries, and Lions' miscues like a dropped 4th-down pass by Amon-Ra St. Brown. Despite that, they're firmly atop the NFC as the conference elite. To explain simply, this shows how close games can hide a team's true strength, much like in hockey playoffs. Not ranked. Pittsburgh Steelers. Should we start viewing the Steelers as a genuine AFC threat? 2 divisional rivals are QB'd by Browns castoffs, and the third is 1-5. The Ravens might improve with Lamar Jackson's return, but they're 1-5 while the Steelers are 4-1, and it's naive to assume Jackson alone would fix everything. The Steelers face a challenging path to the division crown, plus playoff games against Rodgers' crew. They could gain from trades, but even now, they're intriguing. But here's where it gets controversial. With Rodgers' polarizing presence, is this a team built for long-term success or just a flash in the pan? Bottom 5, the 5 teams with the best chance to land the number 1 pick in the 2026 NFL Draft. New Orleans Saints. The Saints bounced back with a win over the Giants after a Patriots loss, but their easy remaining schedule raises questions about tanking for the top pick. For beginners, this means they're likely to lose more games intentionally to improve their draft position, a strategy that's debated for hurting fan engagement. Cleveland Browns. With Tyler Huntley starting for the Ravens and the Steelers on bye, every AFC North game this week featured Browns QBs from off-season moves getting playing time. Gabriel and Huntley combined for 0 TDs, while Flacco tossed 2 in a Bengals defeat. No surprise Steelers coach Mike Tomlin is frustrated about facing Flacco soon. This chaos exemplifies how QB instability can doom a season, sparking debates on whether such moves are smart rebuilding or just chaos. Miami Dolphins. Their biggest win was nearly beating the Bills in a tight game. Now, their coach has the league's hottest seat, and their QB accidentally highlighted his own leadership flaws in comments. It's a total mess in South Florida. And this is where it gets controversial. Does Tua Tagovailoa's criticism stem from team dysfunction, or is it a sign he needs a change of scenery? Tennessee Titans. Props to the Titans for ending Callahan's tenure mercifully. To add insult, the Patriots arrive this week with a developing young QB under Mike Vrabel. For context, this swap shows how quick coaching changes can refresh a team, though it's often seen as admitting defeat prematurely. New York Jets. What was more entertaining, the Jets' -10 passing yards in a game, or their coach deflecting QB change questions post-game? This sums up their predicament, where basic competence seems elusive. Expanding, it's a reminder that even in a team sport, QB struggles can define the entire narrative. Not ranked. New York Giants. The Giants boast a rookie QB for weekly thrills and a powerful running back who dominates then entertains fans. They might not excel this year. The NFC East is weak so far, but they'll be fun to watch. But here's where it gets controversial. Is Jackson Dart's roller coaster ride a sign of future stardom, or just rookie growing pains that fans will tire of? What do you think? Do you agree that some of these truths were inevitable, or are there counterpoints, like injuries or bad luck, that we should consider? Is the Browns QB circus a hilarious failure or a bold experiment? Share your thoughts in the comments. Let's debate the NFL's wild ride.